Hello again, Barefoot Ginger back. It is Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. We made it 2 more days. So, yay. How is everybody doing today? I woke up and did all the things. I even put lipstick on today. Feels special. I need to wear lipstick when I vlog because I think it just makes it look more put together. I wanted to continue. I wanted to do a part 2. I wasn't going to do a part 2, but then I decided that after we talked about the signs of recognizing a codependency dynamic, I wanted to follow that up with how we can, now that we have an understanding of what codependency looks like, we can talk about how to change or manage codependency dynamics. So remember, I used the example of the family event that happened regarding an aggressive dog. So go back. This one won't make sense unless you watch part 1. So make sure you watch part 1. Get up to speed. We were talking about what codependency looks like. Not are you a codependent individual? Not do you have codependency traits, but rather from a toxic family perspective. Do you know or live with or have a relationship with someone who is codependent and it's affecting how you live in that space? That's what part 1 was about. So it was quite long. It was almost an hour. This one won't be that long. Since this is a follow-up and this is part 2, we're going to talk about some strategies to managing our loved ones that have codependency. Like, how do we live in their space and stay healthy and stay mentally focused on our own needs instead of getting sucked into the drama. Because I can tell you, we've all gotten sucked into codependency drama. It just happens. That's life. And if you have a heartbeat for more than, I would say, 7 or 8 years, even children get sucked into codependency drama. I call it drama. I call it relationship drama, but really it's codependency. So kind of a recap for part 1 was that I have several women in my family who are lifelong codependents, who have no emotional maturity and who have no self-worth and self-respect. And so they're so afraid of rejection that they will literally make any decision they need based on somebody asking them. And in this case, housing a dangerous animal. So just go back and watch it. It was really good, if I don't say so myself. And that one will be posted first, and that one will say part 1 in the description, and then this one will say part 2. So I want to hear some of your comments. I want to know what y'all are thinking about. If this kind of vlog is not worth my time. I enjoy it. I think it has value. But if it's something that isn't valuable to my viewers, then I can certainly change the way I do things. All right, so let's get into some strategies. So now that we've identified codependency, we need some simple strategies to figure out how to live and navigate in their world, because it's their world. It's not yours. Remember that it is not your world. It is their world. So the first strategy is to try to increase your self-worth. I have no doubt that we all have a decent amount of self-worth. It could be better. It could be worse. There are times when... Sorry, somebody came in. I'm at work, you guys, so bear with me. So we're going to increase our self-worth. Our first strategy is we're going to increase our self-worth. We are going to consider our own needs and we are going to practice putting our needs first. It's not selfish. I want you guys to know this. I'm going to move this over a little bit. There we go. It's not selfish to validate yourself and to validate your own feelings. It's not selfish. What it is mature. When you validate your own feelings and you say, I have a right to keep myself safe from a dangerous dog, or an abusive significant other, or a sister who is toxic, or whatever the case may be, a boss that is all the things, right? So it's not selfish. So please give yourself space to increase your self-worth and tell yourself that you're not being selfish. Take small, intentional steps or self-affirmations. So small intentional actions. A self-affirmation. I love affirmations. Affirmations are a really good way to motivate yourself. My favorite one is, I got this. It's important to remind yourself. We get so wrapped up in family life, in work life, in just living, that we sometimes forget to validate ourselves. So find a book of affirmations or something and make sure that you practice affirmations. Okay, so the next one is get to know yourself better. It's important to find something that we love doing. When we get so wrapped up in, I need a tissue. When we get so wrapped up in other people's world and other people's drama, and we insert ourselves, or we become dragged into, or whatever the case may be, we tend to sometimes forget who we are. And the longer this occurs, the harder it is to extricate ourselves. So get to know yourself. Find something that you really enjoy or something that you want to learn. So a really good example of this is young moms. So young moms are so busy in the day-to-day operations of taking care of children and household or job or whatever, that they really put who they are on a shelf because they have people who need them. But if you didn't have those young children, or if you had 15 to 20 minutes a day completely unencumbered, what would you want to do? Is there something that you've always wanted to do? Is there a skill or a project? Did you want to learn how to watercolor paint? Or did you want to take up knitting? Or even if you loved writing as a child and you want to try writing poetry or something along those lines. Pick one thing from a list of goals that is important to you, and then you tell yourself, I will make time to learn this skill and work toward this goal. It can be exercising, it can be walking every day after your day is done, your professional day is done. It can be learning to knit, make bread, whatever you've always thought would be fun. You're watching YouTube or something pops up on a movie and you're like, oh, that looks really cool. I got this one pesty hair. Pick that and practice. What that's going to do is that's going to put distance between you and the codependent drama. Putting yourself, oh, I thought this was important. I wrote this down. Putting yourself on your to-do list. So Susan's to-do list includes Susan time. What does that look like? Again, something that puts distance, physical and emotional distance between you and the codependent personality. So put it on your calendar. Put it on your Google Calendar, put it on your wall calendar, find place, document it, and don't let yourself cancel it. Even if it's sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee, listening to your favorite Pandora or Spotify station, Apple, iTunes, whatever, right? Take that time, put yourself on your own to-do list. Why? Well, remember, this is kind of the theme of breaking the cycle, is increasing your self-worth. When you increase your self-worth, you tend to stop worrying so much about what other people are doing. You don't care about the drama because you have something to focus on. If the drama is all you have to focus on, you're going to focus on it. But if you're starting to develop hobbies and goals and other skills that will fill your time and fill your mind, then you will start to see yourself naturally pulling away from those situations that are unhealthy. So, let's see what else we have. It's a balance. It's a work-life balance. It's a life balance. It's an everything balance. Make sure that if you do keep these people in your life, understand that at any given moment, you can walk away. You can say, thanks, gotta go. If the yelling and shouting starts, disengage. And I think that's the next one, is learning to let it go. This is easier said than done. Let me tell you about my neighbor. I've posted other videos about my bad neighbor. This is something, honestly, that I struggle with, is learning to let it go. I have an outdoor camera system attached to an app, and sometimes I get a little obsessive about watching him, making sure that he doesn't cross any boundaries with regard to, he likes to dig the weeds out of the asphalt crack in front of our truck. He likes to blow the dirt out from under our vehicle. He likes to stand on the sidewalk and blow all the stuff off of, and he lives across the street, so it's not like we're next door neighbors, we're across the street neighbors. And I struggle with this. I'll be honest. He's a trigger, so I'm going to practice this, letting it go. Put, like I said before, put emotional and physical space between yourself and the codependent person or persons or situation. So how do I do that? I'll tell you how I did that. We found this really cool slider screen. It's like remember, if you're my age, which is old, if you went to school in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they had these movie projectors that they would bring the movie projectors in, and then they had the screen on these stands, and the teacher would grab the screen and pull it straight up and then hook it up on a little bar on the top. So then you had this big movie screen. Well, we got one of those for our front patio. And I'm telling you, I pull it closed when I work from home. Like on the weekends if we're home, I'll pull it closed and I can sit on my deck and I can breathe. I can feel relaxed, like I'm not in a fishbowl. I can drink my coffee. I can watch a YouTube video. I can read a novel on Kindle. I can, a regular book. I can do the things that people should be allowed to do without being stalked. So that's how I am practicing putting physical distance between myself and the codependent situation, because he's obsessed, and that's one of the hallmark tickers for codependency. Detaching gives you an opportunity to take care of yourself. Again, self-care. See how all of these are connected. Not engaging in arguments. This is really hard, because especially when somebody slings personal insults, our first instinct is fight or flight, and we get a little bit weirded out about not defending ourselves. Look, it doesn't feel good when somebody slings personal insults at you. It doesn't feel good at all. I'm never going to say it does. However, it's important to remember that you are not obligated to respond to any of that drama. Learning to leave in an uncomfortable situation. Hang up the phone. Grab your purse and walk away. If I am outside and he's fussing and carrying on, I go inside and shut the door. Again, super important, easier said than done. And then stay calm. So all of these things, when you're disengaging from an argument, and you're leaving an emotionally tense situation, staying calm is not my forte. I'm practicing that. It's hard. We'll just say that. It's difficult. The struggle is real. I drive that struggle bus and pick people up on my way. Just saying. Consider your own feelings and emotions. So check in with yourself. How do I feel? Is this situation that I'm currently in safeguarding my emotional maturity? If it's not, walk away, stay calm, don't engage, practice all these things. It's like a giant feedback loop. Hopefully it's a positive feedback loop. Listen for empathy rather than trying to fix it. This is a really hard one. And I tell my husband all the time, I just need you to hear me. I don't need you to fix it. I don't want you to fix it. Fixing it isn't what I need right now. But people with codependent tendencies don't want to listen. They want to take over. They want to fix it. They want to be in charge of the solution. When really, you don't need anybody to be in charge of the solution. You're a fully functioning adult who can struggle through the solution on your own. You're just seeking validation that this is hard, or this is super emotional, or frightening, or upsetting, whatever the situation entailed. You're allowed to feel that way, but you're not asking people to fix it. So really, maybe that's what that should say is listen for empathy. And if somebody chimes in, here's what I would say. If you're, I call it venting, right? Or if, I'll say to my husband when he comes home from work, I've had a really bad day and I just tear in, and he thinks I'm tearing into him. Number one, your hackles go up and your defenses go up, and that's when you're like, and that's when the confrontation is most likely to start. Instead of saying, when you're ready, I had a really bad day, I just need to vent. You're giving yourself permission to disengage, and you're giving the person that you're communicating with permission to not solve it. I think language is so important, and I say this a lot. Language matters. So you're giving everybody permission to just listen. And then at the end of the conversation, whoever you shared it with say, wow, you really did have a bad day. I'm here if you need me. Hard stop. Don't nag or criticize. That sounds like a dumb decision. That was stupid of you to do. I wouldn't have done that. Geez, what were you thinking? I can't believe you said that. No wonder they yelled at you. They're gonna call you a Karen or whatever, right? And then the big one that tops it all off. Remember in part one, I talked about the cake, the base of the cake. And the base of this one, This is like the frosting on the cake. So we built a codependent cake yesterday, and this is the frosting. This is the, you know, I guess maybe not frosting, that's the wrong word for it. But anyway, this is maybe the knife that we're going to use to cut that codependency part out and practice our own emotional and mental and physical health. Setting boundaries. Why is setting boundaries so hard? Because we're people, and we come with vast arrays of emotions, and we each have different life experiences. We're all different ages. Even within a family dynamic, you know, like we were a family of 8, and there were 8 different and unique personalities. That's why boundaries are hard. So let's just look up why setting boundaries are important. Well, healthy boundaries, and this kind of goes along with everything I've been talking about, but healthy boundaries help you control your feelings, interactions, and physical space. Boundaries don't have to mean like a physical separation. You know, we kind of think when I set a when you hear somebody talking about, oh, I set a boundary, it's aggressive or harsh or a punishment or a retaliation for an action that was done that you don't agree with. No, that's not what boundaries are designed to be. Healthy boundaries simply allow us to remain in control of us. When you're clear about your boundaries, and this is the other thing, is setting boundaries and enforcing boundaries. So this is set boundaries, and I think I need to add that we're going to enforce the boundaries. So boundaries are just a line in the sand. This is what I won't put up with. In my case, the boundary I set out was I refused to go over to the environment where this dangerous animal is. That was my boundary. I set that boundary. It helps control my physical safety. It helps control my emotional safety, because I'm not going to pop off with something that might be hurtful that I can't take back. It's also going to keep me safe. I'm not going to get attacked, right? The other thing about boundaries, before we move on to enforcing the boundaries, is you don't need to justify your boundaries to anyone. You can if you want to, but you are not required to divulge why you set a boundary. It is your boundary. You own it. You do not owe anyone an explanation, because people who are healthy understand boundaries, and you won't have to say, this is my boundary. You just live your life with the boundaries, and they just respect them. Like, my boundary is my office door is closed. Nobody's going to come in and say, why is your office door closed? They're just going to knock on the door, and I'm going to say, come in, right? That's a healthy way for people to handle boundaries. You just kind of do it, and you live in each other's space. You know, a boundary is I don't go in my husband's wallet. He doesn't have to say, please don't go in my wallet without permission. But the boundary is that it's his private space, and that I respect that he has things that I don't, and same with his cell phone. I don't go in his cell phone. That's a perfect example of setting boundaries. I don't ask him who he texts. I don't ask him who he calls. I don't ask him, I don't care. Because I don't want anybody asking me that same question. If he were to come at me with, can I check your phone? Then we have a problem, right? So respecting boundaries, mutual boundaries, is a sign of emotional intelligence and a sign of emotional health. So that's a big one, is people tend to think that they have the right. Oh, I pay the bill. So I pay the cell phone bill. The cell phone is in my name. I still don't care. You know, you hear the argument all the time, oh, well, I pay the bill, I get to know. No, you kind of don't. You kind of don't. And then this kind of piggybacks with, you know, we were just talking about, when you're clear about your boundaries, people will just understand your limits, and they'll know you're not okay, what you are and are not okay with, and they will adjust their behavior. It's a natural ebb and flow. It happens in relationships. It happens just organically in life. It happens. The people who don't respect your boundaries are the ones that you may not want in your life, which is what we've been talking about. So, summing it all up, do I want somebody in my life who can't set their own boundaries and doesn't respect my boundaries? Because at the end of the day, she didn't respect my boundaries. She could have said, I respect your decision. I love you. Thank you for sharing. Instead of going on this whole big long tirade and accusing me of all sorts of strange things, saying that somehow she's my defender and my hero, when I didn't either know about it, ask for it, or desire it. I don't need anybody to defend me, and so it kind of all goes back into the whole, stepping in and obsessing. So she took it upon herself, way before this, she took it upon herself to defend me when the family was, because, families will do this, they'll pick one person in the family to pick on, but they don't pick on them to their face. They wait till they're gone, and they'll be like, did you hear what so-and-so did? Or, I can't believe she left the church, or blah, 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 all the things, right? And then you've got another family member up here going, oh no, that's not okay. I'm okay with that, but to use language like, I've constantly defended you at a great cost. So now you're obsessing, you're sacrificing yourself, you're making yourself a martyr, you're fixing it. All codependency traits. So step back and say, I'm really sorry the family is picking on you. Do you need anything? Would be super helpful. Say, no thanks, I got it. It doesn't bother me. I'm okay with it, or whatever the case may be. So to kind of sum it up, when we are learning about codependency, there's one more final thought I want to leave with everyone. Emotional support is the last piece of the puzzle. And what does that mean? That means that sometimes all of this can be overwhelming, too much. Like, we've identified that this is a toxic environment. We've identified that this person isn't capable of setting those healthy boundaries. We've identified that maybe, you struggle with disengaging. So you want to go right to defending yourself. You want to go right to you have no right to say that to me. And so then an argument ensues, and, words are said and feelings are hurt, and that doesn't help your self-worth. That doesn't help you get to know yourself better. That doesn't help you learn to let it go. That doesn't help you learn to detach. A licensed therapist can help. I would suggest, if it's more than just somebody being easily able to recognize. Now, I would get help. Find a therapist. Find a counselor in your area that specializes in relationship trauma, codependency, that kind of thing. Find somebody to help you with your emotional support, because you deserve it. I will say that this has been a journey for me. I was in a toxic marriage for 14 years, and I've been in a toxic family for 51 years. None of this has come easy for me, nor quickly. I was married for 14 years. I've been divorced for, I'm thinking, 18 years. Got divorced in 2005, 2013. Yeah, I've been divorced for 18 years. So I've been divorced longer than I was married. And it's taken every day of those 18 years to get to the point where I can help. I hope something I've said helps with codependency. Understanding the red flags. Like I said, do a quick Google search. You know, setting boundaries, codependency. You know, the importance of setting healthy boundaries. You know, those all matter because it's all connected to your self-care and your self-respect. Self-care, self-respect. Healthy boundaries equals self-respect. It also helps you be a better leader. Whether you're at work, you lead your family, if you have children at home still, or even adult children, it just helps you be a better leader overall, just in general. A better spouse, a better child, a better daughter, a better grandmother. So, real quick, we're going to increase our self-worth by considering our own needs. We're going to get to know ourselves better. We're going to set a goal, find something that we've always wanted to do, and learn a new skill. We're going to learn to let it go by recognizing that we can detach. And some of the strategies for detaching: not engaging, leaving, physically leaving an uncomfortable situation, considering your own feelings and emotions, listen for empathy but not to fix it, not criticizing or arguing or nagging, setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries, and last but not least, seeking the emotional support. So, yeah, sorry, I have a coworker who's extra. Anyway, so that's it for this. That's it for my codependency part 1 and part 2. I hope that I was able to do something more than just run my mouth. Go slay. Today's a beautiful day. Be the best at who you are, because you're loved, you're worthy, and you matter. Barefoot Ginger.